On average, high school students spend 3.1 hours of their time doing homework each night. That's an outstanding 15.5 hours a week. Between school, after-school activities, and homework, students rarely get the personal time they need day to day. Going to school and participating in after-school activities are very important to one's education and well-being, but homework in excessive amounts can be redundant and, in fact, impair one's education. Too much homework can attribute to stress, sleep deprivation, and deterring social and family relations.
Has homework ever led to sleep deprivation or stress?
Thanks for the question, Brady. I would say definitely when I was like freshman, sophomore, junior year. Not a lot of stress, but yeah, I mean, there'd be some nights where I went home, put my head down for a couple hours. Yeah, definitely just sleep deprivation because I procrastinate and then I'll start going right back at like 10
And what do you think is a reasonable time, like per night?
for like each class or just in total.
Just a total amount. To like still be like socially and interactive.
It's like an hour.
Okay. Have you ever had an experience where you've had so much homework that it's led to sleep deprivation or stress?
Right now. I'm gonna say every night sleep deprivation. Next question.
What do you think's a reasonable time to do like homework each night and still learn?
Ideally none, but reasonable I'd say 1.5.
Thank you for your time.
Next question.
Thank you. That's it.
Another one.
Researchers studied over 4,000 students from 10 different communities, which are similar to Wayzata's community, and median income made. Students in these schools completed an average about 3.1 hours of homework each night, which is close to the national average we found. When it comes to stress, 56% of students consider homework a primary source. 43 view tests as a primary stressor, while 33% put the pressure to get good grades in that category. Only less than 1% of the students said homework was not a stressor. All right, what do you think the recommended amount of homework should be daily for high school students?
Yeah. I think coming up with an exact number is a tough thing to do. You know, what I've heard, whether it's here at Wayzata or other schools that I've worked at, I've seen anything from, 60 minutes a night to 90 minutes a night. I think as we all know that can vary depending on certain, we're doing a big project here and some nights could be heavier than others.
Yeah.
But I think that's an acceptable baseline to start with. It could be less or more.
But do you think it leads to stress and or sleep deprivation?
Oh, I think it definitely can.
Mm-hmm.
If you've got a lot going on at one time, you're in activities, or sport, and you've got projects, tests, quizzes, just day-to-day work, it can definitely stress you out.
Yeah.
So I think that's why it's just important to, as much as you can, to balance that out. And what I would even recommend doing is if a student is truly feeling, that crunch, is to have, open, honest dialogue with your teachers. It doesn't mean that you're trying to get out of anything or to, not wanting to do it. But I think if students when we really talk about being stressed and feeling anxiety, they should talk to an adult about that.
Yeah, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
From a short survey taken at Wayzata High School of 100 students from multiple grades and multiple classes, 65% of students had over 2 hours of homework each night. Of these 65, 49% had 3 to 4 hours of homework. Of that 65%, students found 1 to 2 hours of their homework pointless. 86% said that homework affected their social and family life. 76% said that they don't get enough sleep each night from homework due to stress.
How much homework do you give out on a night on a regular basis?
Typically I give anywhere from, for my Math 2X class, about half hour to 45, sometimes an hour. Usually a half hour range.
And what do you think is the right amount of homework? You said you give out like a half an hour to an hour. Is that the right amount in your opinion?
Well, I think, students only have 4 classes, and typically at least 1 or 2 of those classes won't give homework, depending on the type of class or the schedule for that class.
Yeah.
And so I think if a student has anywhere from half hour to an hour and a half of homework in a given night, maybe even up to 2 hours on busier nights, then that's completely reasonable.
And do you think that the amount of homework students get and homework in general can lead to stress and sleep deprivation?
Stress, yeah, but is having some pressure and some stress on you a bad thing? I don't think so. I can't say that it leads you to being sleep deprived. I guess there's smarter people than me that do scientific research projects on that. But I think that if you don't balance your stress with having things that relieve stress or cope with stress in positive ways, then it could lead to health concerns and that type of thing.
So some people say that homework helps the student be prepared and further their education outside of the class and prepare them for college in the future. They also say it allows the child to take responsibility for his or her work and teaches the child to work independently. Lastly, some say that it helps improve the child's learning, thinking, and memory skills. We agree that these three views are valid points. We are not trying to get rid of homework because we too think it's important. Our stance on this topic is trying to limit the amount given to high school students to a moderate level because too much is hurting the student, not helping. Have you ever had an experience in your life where you've had too much homework that has led to sleep deprivation or stress?
Oh, that's a loaded question. You caught me on surprise there. Well, last year, I'd actually say was my junior year, and I was really struggling with homework. I'd say that I had probably 4 to 5 hours a night. And this really affected me emotionally, physically, and mentally. Mentally, I'd come to school tired every day and kind of depressed because I'd be staying up each night doing homework. I lost a lot of sleep, I'd say, because I'm also involved in swimming. So after school, I'd go straight to swimming, and then I'd come home and do homework until I went to bed, and that was kind of the daily routine. There's no variation, there's no free time for me to have. It's quite depressing, actually, and yeah.
What do you think? In conclusion, excessive amounts of homework definitely attribute to stress, sleep deprivation, and deteriorating social and family relations, as you could see in the survey given to Wayzata High School students. Homework does not necessarily have to be a bad thing. As long as it is given in moderation, homework is and can be very helpful. That's why homework needs to be limited, because it's affecting students mentally and physically in a very negative way.
So